would shake like a fish in a stream, a chronic search for all I used to believe in. I never wondered why I can't see past the ceiling. Oh, for goodness sake, I pray your words would reach me. Awake, my child, completely. the first time you put your hand in mine. There's no one else I will belong to, and you'll be forever mine. I'll be right here next to you, as long as the world keeps spinning around. Let the skies turn black or blue. No matter what comes, I won't ever let you down. Far, far as the ocean goes, and strong, strong as a tide. My love never fades away. I'll stay right by your side. Tomorrow can bring whatever comes, and I'll be here the same. If ever you're feeling all alone, just call my name. I'll be right here next to you, as long as the world keeps spinning around. Let the skies turn black or blue. No matter what comes, I won't ever let you down.
1, 2, 3, 4.
My hair is turning white. That's what my barber tells me. So, you know it seems kind of fitting for living life at night. I tried to find a payphone, like a cloud in a desert.
Good morning. Welcome to Crossroads Church. The air conditioning feels fantastic if you're in the room. If you are able, will you please stand? Welcome. If you're joining us online, we're going to sing together to start. Hope erupting, darkness shaking, faith is rising. We know. Heartbeat praising, living in your freedom, joy overflowing. We know, we know, we know, we know, we know, we know. Our hope forever is the name of Jesus. We are free and you are with us. The church is alive, yes. Passion burning, vision growing. The church declaring, we know, we know, we know, we know, we know, we know. Our hope forever is the name of Jesus. We are free and you are with us. The church is alive. The church is alive. Our hope forever is the name of Jesus. We are free and you are with us. The church is alive. Yeah.
Welcome to Crossroads Church. Whether you're connecting online, in person, or on demand, thank you for making this time part of your week. What is this place all about? Well, it's pretty simple. Peace on earth. We're an open and affirming community of people committed to following the peacemaking path of Jesus. And this peacemaking path leads us to focus our work on rewriting what we call the 5 unacceptable truths. These unacceptable truths are 5 realities that hinder human flourishing and destroy peace on earth. Together, we work to replace spiritual emptiness with spiritual vitality, poverty with physical and financial flourishing, fear of the other with inclusion and affirmation, illiteracy with education and opportunity, and modern-day slavery with freedom. This is what we mean when we say, hope is here. Over the next hour, we'll experience the divine mystery together as we sing a few songs, listen for wisdom, and share in communion so that we might leave here inspired and equipped to follow the peacemaking path of Jesus in our everyday normal lives. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God.
This is what it sounds like. This is what it looks like. This is what it feels like when the church is alive. Sing that with me. This is what it sounds like. This is what it sounds like. This is what it looks like. This is what it feels like when the church is alive. Yeah. I hope forever is the name of Jesus. We are free and you are with us. The church is alive. The church is alive. And I hope forever is the name of Jesus. We are free and you are with us. The church is alive. The church is alive. Oh, this is what it sounds like. This is what it looks like. This is what it feels like when the church is alive. The church is alive. Oh, this is what it sounds like. And this is what it looks like. Oh, this is what it feels like when the church is alive. You can go ahead and have a seat.
Good morning. My name is Wendy Howell, and I'm the Director of Disability Inclusion and the Co-Director of Partners in Hope. How many of you are thankful for air conditioning? As you came in today, you should have received a program. If not, just slip up your hand, and one of our room hosts will be happy to bring one to you. If you are new here today, welcome. The program is designed specifically with information that will be helpful for you. If you're looking for events, highlights, and stories, you'll find it digitally in the Crossroads app. The weekend section contains everything you need to know for July. The app really is the best way to stay connected. You can find an easy download QR code in the back of your programs. Now, how many of you are still slackers and have not downloaded the Crossroads app? Right? Shame? Anybody? Okay, really, you need to download that app. It's really easy. Just get that QR code. Inside your program are a few other things I want to point out. Everyone, go ahead and take out that Connect card or click on it if you're in the app. If you are a regular attender, just put your name and email address and check that box, regular attender. If you are new here, please check that box, new here, and fill out as much information as you feel comfortable sharing. Be sure to hang on to that Connect card until the end of the service because you might want to add some things along the way. Also in your program, you'll find a giving envelope. One of our core values at Crossroads is generosity. Your donations are helping to rewrite those 5 unacceptable truths and create peace on earth through our programs and partnerships. We have lots of ways to donate to the peacemaking work here at Crossroads. The giving envelope, texting, and the website and the app are all convenient and safe ways to give. If this is your first time connecting this morning, we have a gift for you. It's a book called The God We Never Knew. It's especially helpful if you are dissatisfied or deconstructing ways of thinking about God that you were given but no longer make sense to you or cause you harm along the way. If you are new here, on your way out of the auditorium, just grab a copy from one of the tables in the back, or better yet, come see me by the Fresh Perspective banner in the atrium during our meet and mingle after the service. I would love to meet you, answer any questions about the church, so if you are new here, please come say hi to me. If you are connecting digitally for the first time, check that box on the digital Connect card, and we will be happy to ship a book to you this week. That's all I have for you right now. Go ahead and grab those talk notes, and Ryan will be up in just a minute with the final installment of our teaching series, Unacceptable Truth.
Well, good morning. Welcome to those of you that are in the room enjoying this beautiful air-conditioned space. And welcome to those of you that are tuning in online or catching this on demand. We know it's summer and lots of people traveling, so it's great to have everybody together. First of all, before we get started, I want to thank many of you who have checked in. You've heard through the grapevine that I was having some visits to the ER over the last week and a half, which were truly exciting. Saw the back of an ambulance a couple of times, which is wonderful, but doing well. I can't hear out of this side of my ear. That's the only part you hear out of, I suppose. But some people have asked, and I was having these like uncontrollable nosebleeds. And so we were in New York City and it happened, and I got taken by ambulance from JFK to Long Island, which was an experience. And so that was good. And then came back and ended up last Sunday. I made it through last Sunday without a nosebleed on stage, which was great. But I got home at noon, and then it just was a beautiful sight, and ambulance at the house, all that good stuff. But it's been like 3 days without a nosebleed, so this is exciting. This is very exciting. But you know, they'll like take a balloon and shove it up your sinus cavity and inflate two of them at the same time. It's not a pleasant experience. The ER doc, she was one, or the ENT in New York City, she was great. Like when it finally, it's a long story. Sometime you can buy me a drink, I'll share it all with you. But the ENT, like I was like kind of passing out, and she was holding the thing over my nose, and she just as gently as she could, she just was real close. She was like, "This is going to be unpleasant." She was right. It was unpleasant, but so that's good. So I am grateful that everybody's here today. I'm grateful to be here today. If you are a guest this morning, thank you so much for tuning in, being here. If you're on the atrium, inside that program, you'll notice the program is a little different. We've reshaped it. It's really focused on if you are a guest today, that program is shaped for you. Lots of great resources to help you get to know Crossroads. Inside of the cover, there's a little note from me, and my phone number is in there. If you have any questions about our church, if you'd love to hear a little bit of my story, I would certainly love to hear your story, how you heard about Crossroads, how you ended up here, answer any questions about the journey that we're all on together. Would love to do that. Just shoot me a text message and I'd be happy to help get that set up with you. We are in our final week of our series, Unacceptable Truth. Next week, we're going to talk about the spirituality of fun. Okay, I think 8 of you are ready. The other of you are like, why are people whooping at church? This is inappropriate. And where are his pants? That's what you're thinking right now. I know. And so that's going to be fun. And then in 2 weeks, tell your friends, I'm going to upset everybody. I'm going to do a series on Revelation, okay? So if you've been around church for a long time, if you've been around the book of Revelation, the end of the world, end times garbage that you've heard, hopefully I just gave away a little secret about what I think about some of that. Maybe you've read the Tim LaHaye books, unfortunately, but I'm just kidding. See, I'm going to offend everybody, okay? Nobody's getting out of it during this series. We're going to talk about, we're calling it The Peacemaker's Guide to the Revelation. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to spend about 4 or 5 weeks walking through how do we, in a real healthy way, spiritually deal with this crazy book that's in the Christian scripture that has been a hotly debated item as to whether it should even be in there from the beginning. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And if you thought I was a heretic now, wait till you get a load of me after Revelation. Okay, no, it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to have a good time. So come out, invite a friend who's worried about the end of the world, and we'll hopefully calm everybody's fears. So what we've been saying every week for the last 5 weeks. So if you're here for the first time today, this is the first time you've heard this, but if you're here for the last 5 weeks, you're like, oh, here we go. Here it is. Remember, acceptable behavior often leads to unacceptable truths, okay? Unacceptable truths lead to suffering, right? Unacceptable truth of illiteracy, unacceptable truth of fear of the other, unacceptable truth of human slavery. These produce suffering in our world by the billions, okay, by the millions. But what produces the unacceptable truth is what we in like the dominant culture often just think of as acceptable. We can look at it from a religious standpoint, beliefs that maybe you and I grew up with is just like, this is what everybody believed. This is what I was taught, and it was perfectly acceptable. And it produced all kinds of harm to women. It produced all kinds of harm to the queer community. So it was just acceptable at one point in time. Until we start to question what we think is acceptable, we will just continue to promote oppression, right? And so that's what we've been been kind of looking at. And over this past 5 weeks, we've been exploring these different unacceptable truths, and we're into our last one today. Now, we're going to talk about illiteracy and how one of the things that we as a church, as a collective, but then also as you, a member of, I think, the body of Christ, if I can use that kind of churchy language abroad, right? The scattered church, you leave here. How many of you sleep here? No, you don't, right? You go out into your everyday normal lives. That's what we're about, because that's where we bring hope. That's where we bring peace. And when we're in our everyday normal lives, how do we work to rewrite these unacceptable truths with simple decisions? You don't have to go out and start a nonprofit to make a difference, right? And so this week we want to talk about rewriting illiteracy, lack of education, with education and opportunity. And one of the underlying beliefs that hits home that we just kind of assume oftentimes if you're in part of the dominant structure, particularly if you're white, particularly if you grew up in middle class America, or if you grew up in an upper class environment, you kind of just have this belief that we have public education, there's access to education, literacy and education is just simply a matter that people need to work hard, right? That's an acceptable belief, especially if you grew up in kind of the context that I grew up in. And you just say, oh, it's just a matter of working hard. These kids are lazy, right? Or these families are lazy, or these are whoever. And we just kind of, again, it's fear of the other baked into there. But the truth is, there's all kinds of questions. Like, what if you have a learning style that's different than the dominant sit and listen approach that happens in many education environments? Right? What happens if you don't have the stable family that really is necessary for homework support or a partnership with the school? Or what if your family environment or your education environment doesn't major on things like curiosity and grit and character? What if those environments just major on making sure you can pass standardized tests and get some knowledge? Well, this beautiful book that came out about 10 years ago or so called How Children Succeed, The Hidden Power of Grit, Curiosity, and Character by a guy named Paul Tough. Beautiful book, amazing book. I loved it completely. But he challenges this idea of what people have thought of to contribute most to academic success, right? And so the book argues that those traditional metrics like IQ, standardized test scores, that these are not the sole determinants of whether or not a child will be successful. Instead, right, his work really highlights the importance of non-cognitive skills. So he highlights the importance of children learning perseverance and self-control and curiosity and grit at very, very young ages. So it's the difference between raising a child from when they're really little and saying, oh, you're so smart, to raising them from a little child to say, you are such a hard worker. Because if a child at age 1, 2, 3 starts learning, oh, I'm just so smart, when they're faced with an academic challenge or they're faced with something they don't understand or is difficult to get, they then move to, I'm dumb. I'm actually not smart. Right? And so there's all these different ways, right? And if we don't notice, if we're just in an environment that's focused on identifying like, oh, this kid seems to have aptitude versus training and raising up these quality characteristics. And his research shows that these things can be nurtured, they can be developed. And he talks about the impact of them at a very, very young age. And if you're not in an environment or in a family that stresses those things or understands those things, like, what do you do? Or what if you live in an under-resourced school district? Is it really that you're just not working hard enough? Or could it be that there are other factors that are stacked against you? Factors like funding inequities. Public schools in many countries, including the United States, are often funded through local property taxes, and this system itself creates disparities because schools in wealthier areas receive more funding than those in poorer communities. You just work harder? Or there's economic disparities in general. Students in under-resourced schools often come from low-income families. And that can affect a family's ability to have the right resources that they need to actually do the work. That can affect the school's ability to generate additional funding through donations or fundraising. Or there's political decisions, right? Governments, local, state, federal, there's policies that get put into place that influence the distribution of resources. And so decisions about budget cuts and allocations of funds and educational priorities often disproportionately affect under-resourced schools. Is it just that those kids need to work harder, right? There's demographic factors. Right? Schools in under-resourced areas often serve higher numbers of students that require additional support. So you might have English language learners, students with disabilities, students from marginalized communities, and these students often require more resources which strain the system. But maybe they should just work harder, right? I mean, maybe that's all it is. Now, it couldn't be that there's teacher shortages, right? It couldn't be that under-resourced schools often struggle to retain teachers because it's very difficult in those environments, lower salaries, challenging work conditions, lack of professional development opportunities. Yeah, but maybe they should just work harder. I mean, at the end of the day. Or there's even infrastructure deficiencies, right? There's this idea that a lot of our under-resourced schools and education institutions, their facilities themselves are falling apart. They don't have essential facilities like libraries or science labs or technology. And then there's community challenges. Schools in economically disadvantaged areas, right? They face additional community challenges, higher rates of crime potentially, housing insecurity, food insecurity, all these things that can impact a student's ability to learn and thrive, but maybe they just should work harder. There's oftentimes limited access to advanced courses like AP courses, fewer opportunities in disadvantaged schools and disadvantaged areas for students to actually take honors courses that limit their ability to compete for college admissions and scholarships. Oftentimes there's insufficient support services. Under-resourced schools, they lack adequate support services like counseling and mental health resources and extracurricular activities, and all of these things are crucial for students' overall development and well-being. But maybe they should just work harder. I mean, maybe it just feels like that's probably the issue. Like these families, they just don't work hard enough. Right? There's been studies shown in 2023, a study that was done showed that 14% of the world's population, 1.3 billion people, say that with me, 1.3 billion people still have little to no literacy in the world. And that same study found that they are more likely to suffer from mental health issues such as loneliness and depression and anxiety. This team discovered that this reality of illiteracy disproportionately affects women who account for 2/3 of the world's illiterate. Because women still, in the majority of our world, especially in the developing world, are tasked with things that they have to do as part of managing a house that they don't have the simplest of things that we have in our homes right now that free up time and free up the space. You've heard the story of Malayla, a Pakistani education activist now who was shot as a young girl after she spoke out on her school bus in 2012 for education rights for girls. Maybe she just should have worked harder. Now she's a Nobel laureate and she's this champion for equal education rights. And she's an icon for education justice around the world. And Malayla and so many others like her in our neighborhoods, in our backyards, right here, living in spaces that hinder education. They're not lazy. They don't just need to work harder. It's a complex issue. And how many of you right now just feel so glad that you came to church today? This is called narrative teaching, right? You just bring people down to the problem. And now we're going to get to the solution, okay? It's not all down, I promise. You know what's interesting and what scares a lot of people in the faith community? I've learned this because I've gotten some responses that display a lot of fear, that Jesus needed to learn. How many fans of Jesus do we have in the room? The historical Jesus, right? Forget about what you might believe about the Jesus of faith and like resurrected Lord and Savior, all that stuff. But just Jesus, this guy who walked around working with the poor, fighting oppression, like condemning religious practices that excluded people. Kind of like most people are like, Gandhi, I love your Jesus. It's the Christians I'm not so sure about, right? Like Jesus had to learn, like it's important that we remember as people who are following Jesus, many in the room are, some of you aren't, and I'm glad you're here exploring, right? But as many of us who are trying to follow the peacemaking path of Jesus, it's important to remember that Jesus was a human being who had to learn. He did not come out of the womb filled with all wisdom and knowledge. And that's scary to a lot of people. Like I said that one time in like a post that I made, like, I need a Jesus who didn't know everything, you know? Like I'm grateful that we have this passage in Luke chapter 2, verse 52 that says, Jesus increased in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and man. I love this passage that we get in Luke's version of the story of Jesus because it tells me that Jesus didn't have it all together at every single moment of his life, that he wasn't at 2 years old walking around, right, quoting the Greek philosophers. And it's amazing that this verse says that he increased in wisdom and in stature and in favor with who? He increased with God. What? Hold on a second. That's impossible. Jesus can't increase in stature and favor with God because Jesus is God, which was a statement that came about a little bit later, okay? Like the equation of Jesus being the Christian icon for God, that when you see Jesus, you see God. As the one that you've heard words like our advocate, you've heard words like our intercessor. The idea that when we see Jesus, we see God, the incarnation, that is the theological development that occurs much after the life of Jesus, right? But Luke, who's writing a little bit after it, still has no problem saying that Jesus actually grew in favor with God. That will mess with you if you've grown up in the church. We don't talk about that a lot. But that's what he did. Now here's what's interesting about Jesus needing to learn, right? The literacy rate in Jesus' day overall was somewhere around 3 to 7%. Now that would have been far lower, the literacy rate inside of the peasant class. And Jesus would have been considered a Mediterranean peasant as a social class. So 90% of all Jewish people, whether they were in the peasant class, they were in the religious leaders, they would have maybe been able to write their name for a legal document if they had to at the time, but probably couldn't read or write at all beyond that, right? And so those literacy rates were so low, like historians, people who study the historical Jesus, have this real debate around like, could Jesus actually read? Like, would we say that it was more likely that the historical Jesus could read, or is it more likely that he couldn't read? It is more likely that Jesus couldn't read. There's no real evidence that in the community that Jesus grew up in that we know of, the life that he would have had, that Jesus would have been able to read. And that's a fun thing to talk about. But the story that we have of Jesus is a story of a Jesus that could read. Right? So the story that we're given of Jesus, particularly in Luke, is that this Jesus could read. And Jesus reads something really powerful in the midst of the beginning of his ministry. So now Luke, remember, is writing gospel, and gospel is good news, and gospel is story. And so he's telling us this is what Jesus is all about, okay? And in Luke's version, Jesus very early on, right, he goes out and he's baptized, and then he goes out into the wilderness and has this experience with the ways, and Luke tells us this trial and temptation he has out in the wilderness kind of set the stage for what kind of ministry Jesus is going to do. And then the very next thing is Jesus is back in his hometown, and he goes into their synagogue, their local church, and he reads from the scroll of Isaiah. And this is all in Luke chapter 4. And we have this beautiful story. And what Luke is not telling us is on this day, at this time, Luke, like the readers of this, they could have cared less whether or not Jesus could read or not. Like Luke is giving us truth, not facts, all right? There's two different things. And so Jesus stands up. The story that we have of this person of Jesus is central. It's central to understanding Jesus because he reads, and he reads this beautiful passage. And we started with this 6 weeks ago, to understand what it's all about following Jesus. And he stood up, it says in Luke chapter 4, and he read from the scroll of the prophet Isaiah. He unrolled it. This scroll would have been feet long. He unrolls it and he gets to the place where he wants to. And he says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. And he has sent me to proclaim freedom, release to the captives, recovery of sight to the blind, to set those who are oppressed free, and to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." And he stopped there. Now, if you're an Isaiah scholar, how many of you Isaiah scholars in the room? I know you're freaking out right now. You're like, but it doesn't stop there. Jesus has bad hermeneutics. He read that passage out of context because the next few verses are about the judgment day. The next few verses are not pleasant. But Jesus stops and he says, no, this is what I'm all about. And we have this from Jesus because he read. He rolls up the scroll, and the first mic drop in the history ever. He just drops the scroll and everybody's looking at him and all his eyes are fixed on him. It's interesting in this story, like it's really weird because everybody's eyes are fixed on him and they're all amazed. And then Jesus kind of accuses them of not believing him because he grew up there. And it's kind of this weird, like everybody seems to be okay with it. And then Jesus is like reading their minds like, yeah, but you're saying, isn't this the carpenter's kid? Isn't this Mary's son? Like a prophet is without honor in their own hometown. And again, this is Luke giving us this reality that not everybody appreciated Jesus. I don't know if you know this or not everybody appreciates Jesus now and what Jesus stood for. Now, what I love about this passage as it relates to us is that if we follow the peacemaking path of Jesus, that when we learn wisdom, when we grow in wisdom, when we grow in character, that's what that word stature means. When we learn wisdom, when we learn character, we can grow in divine influence. And if the word divine kind of freaks you out because you think that's too open-ended, I totally get it, because people have used the word God to do all kinds of horrible things on this planet. Just put the word love in there instead. When we learn wisdom, when we grow in character, we grow in love's influence in the world, replacing good, right, where there was evil, replacing welcome where there was exclusion, right? That's the beauty of it. And we have chosen as a church to say illiteracy is an unacceptable truth in our world, and our faith pushes us into the dark corners where there is lack of opportunity, because we live in a world where education is advancement, where education is the key to opportunity. And believing that, we still live in a world where billions of people lack the resources necessary to engage in meaningful education. And we know that education can change a generation. It can change generations. A great example of this is a gentleman named Dr. Hans Rosling. Anybody ever heard of Dr. Hans Rosling? He was a former professor of global health at Sweden's Karolinska Institute. And he had done a couple of TED Talks, but his work during his life, he recently passed away, his work was really focused on dispelling a lot of myths or acceptable beliefs, right, that people held about the so-called developing world, which he was very known to point out was no longer worlds away from the West, right? And in 2010, I would encourage everybody in here, it's one of the next steps on the back of the Connect card, one of the what's God inviting you into things. In 2010, he gave this beautiful TED Talk called The Magic Washing Machine. And the Magic Washing Machine TED Talk, he speaks about the intersectionality of poverty, climate change, and illiteracy. And he speaks to like the complexity of the necessity for certain resources to come and how that does impact the green movement in our globe and in our world. But he unpacks and he shows that this is not just a matter of saying, oh, I'm like definitely for, good policies around green earth and sustainable energy. Like there's also the development and resourcing of people that oftentimes can run into contradiction. And so he gives this beautiful TED Talk. In it, he just basically says that, spoiler alert, but you have to watch it. I'm not going to do it justice, right? But basically, here's this guy who grew up in an environment where his mother used to have to go and hand wash all the clothes, didn't have a washing machine, and they got a washing machine. And he talks about the impact that washing machine had on a generation, because at the end of the day, his mother had to no longer spend hours and hours and hours each week washing clothes, but they were able to focus time on reading. And it was in their ability to focus time on reading which led him down a path to become a professor, and then his impact on the world and on the way in which the world thinks about the developing world is unbelievable, right? Because access was granted. And so we want to talk more about this with some experts. I'm not an expert in the field. I just read an article, okay? So here's the deal. We want to welcome to our stage education consultant, Associate Dean Jeffrey Lund, and he has brought with him a very special guest, a consultant, Jaylene Jimenez, as well. And so we want to welcome them to our stage this morning as we have a little conversation. Well, welcome and thank you for being here. And I know that this is not always fun to be on stage with people in the room. So Jaylene especially, thank you. Can we just give Jaylene another welcome? Say, relax. It's all good. All right, wonderful. Well, let's start. Jeffrey, tell us a little bit about yourself and your intersection with education, the work you've done, how you got into all of this, what you're doing currently in your everyday normal life.
Well, originally, I was never going to get into education. My dad was a teacher for 30-some years. I went and got an MBA in finance because I said, there's no money in education. And so I was like, I'm not going to do
All the teachers in the room are like, say that again, preach.
And so I got downsized a few times, and I started subbing, and I ran a youth program for a church. And then I had the opportunity to get into teaching, and I taught business for 5 years at a high school here, Thompson Valley, and then I was a high school principal, and then I was a director, and then I said, education's terrible, and I do not like it. And so I left. I started a business. I have a consulting business. Jaylene's part of that business, and that's where I'm at. So today I have 3 careers. I teach college-based courses to high school students. I teach for the P-Tech program in Longmont. Our students get an AAS in computer science by the time they graduate high school. Most of our students are first generation students of color, those that never had the opportunity to have that door open. Jaylene was part of one of my college courses. I opened the Innovation Center at St. Vrain. I was there for 8 years, and I looked at a school and I looked at all these students aren't going anywhere, especially our Latino community. So I asked to go there. And then I created a business program with Front Range, and my students take 5 college-based business courses. They graduate from Front Range with a small business ownership certification, and then they can get a free year of Front Range after they graduate high school. And then I'm also part of planetstartup.org, and we're in 30 countries. We're in the most depressed countries in the world, and we're educating people on entrepreneurship. And the basis of everything I do is the entrepreneurial mindset, based off the 8 pieces that Jaylene helps me teach as well. And I'm gonna offer at the end for all of you to get free college courses if you'd like. And then my other career is my business, which is consulting, and currently Jaylene and I, Deanna Gonzalez and Michael Langford, we're creating courses in the Philippines. And what we're doing there is teaching how to do leadership, et cetera, et cetera. And then next Saturday, I just told Jaylene she's going to be online with me in northern Ghana, helping the women up there. So that's kind of what I do, is I work 24/7, 365 days a year.
That's right. I love it. And for those of you that are wondering, like, how did you meet this Jeffrey guy? He texted me one day, I'm at church. I'd love to have coffee. So Jeffrey's part of our church, and we went and had coffee a couple months ago, and we knew we were kind of working on this series even a few months ago, and I was like, I might be in touch. So be careful if you want to have coffee or a drink with me. You might end up here talking about your everyday normal life, right?
Yeah, and be careful too, because then you'll become part of the Bakers Club. We need more. So I bake at least once a month. I'm the one that makes the little pig-shaped cookies, the marenitos.
Mexican
so if you're too
busy to bake once a month for the after party that we do on Sundays, I call it an after party. It's called Meet and Mingle. We should call it after party instead. Stay for the after party.
Yeah, please do, because we work really hard, all of us bakers. I know the Wabiks do it and some others, Lori. A lot of us go out there and try to bake for you guys.
Yeah, and so you get to push for your volunteer area when you come up on stage too. It's great. Okay, so we're talking about education, and Jaylene, I'm going to ask you a question in a minute. I know you're not too thrilled to have to be in front of all these people, so I'm trying to be really. So we will ask. I'm not ignoring you. What do you think, Jeffrey, are some of those beliefs, behaviors? I kind of rolled off a whole bunch at the beginning, but in your experience, what are some of the big acceptable truths, acceptable beliefs, behaviors that lead to the lack of access in education?
I'm going to be honest, and some of you may be kind of hard to hear, but it's based off of systemic racism that is built in education. I was with a group of college professors and high school students at a meeting, and I made the comment, I said, if you're going to reach your student, you have to know the family, you have to know the community. When I decided to go into teaching, my dad, all he wanted to be was a math teacher. And he taught, like I said, for 30-some years. He came from extreme poverty, one of 10 kids. My grandfather's a migrant farmer. And with my older sisters and brother, he went to college all day. He was a custodian in the morning and night. So anyway, he lived his dream, and he looked at me and said, you better care first, curriculum second. And I think that's the problem. I would go to conferences and I would hear it's rigor, relevance, and relationships. And after about the 3rd conference, I stood up and I said, stop. It's relationships, then it's relevance, and I don't have to worry about the rigor because they will work hard. We keep talking about working hard, right? But the racism is in the textbooks that we teach. I personally, with grant money, bought a lot of my books in Spanish. I need to open the door. When I was a principal, I went to my English teachers and I said, this isn't acceptable. I don't go to the grocery store and say, where are they find tomatoes, young sir? Learning Shakespeare in this world, when a lot of my students were ELL, first generation non-documented. So I challenged them and they came back, and with the budget, we let the kids pick the novels of choice. Then I said, this isn't good enough. So we created literacy courses, and I empowered them because they're the experts. And the next thing we knew, we had an all-boys literacy course and an all-girls. And Suleika, entering her senior year, maybe wasn't going to graduate and was reading at an 8th grade level. By December, we had her at 11th grade, and she graduated. So it's breaking those barriers. I'm sorry, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but it's not studying for an AP test. It's opening doors. For Jaylene, I'm going to pick on her. I was going to bring a bunch of people, but when I teach my business courses, I teach ethics and corporate social responsibility. The most oppressed group in the business world, education, are Latinas. And so a lot of Latinas are in college because I believe that I can open the door for anyone and show them what's there. But we don't want to open the door because it takes work. And we're so conditioned on a lesson plan. As a principal, I told my teachers, I don't want to see your lesson plan. I want you to create authentic learning. So all of my classes are authentic. And the ones in Ghana, or the ones that she and I are creating, and Mike and Diana for our business, it's just all coming from what do they need, not versus what I think they need.
I love it. I love it. Okay, Jaylene. Now help us, maybe introduce yourself, a little bit of who you are, and the impact, what your education journey has been like, and then the impact that having some access and some support. And so just take it away, whatever you're comfortable sharing with us.
Yes, thank you. So I am a first-generation student. I am in my second year of college at the University of Colorado in Boulder. And I also currently teach an ESL class at Front Range. I help teach parents learn English. And I started with Jeff. I was in his class taking business courses. I was not going to go to college. My parents are immigrants, and they came here kind of chasing that American dream. And so when the time for college came, they're like, okay, now we're here. You have all the resources you need. Take it away. I knew nothing about college. Okay, how do I get there? And that's when I met Jeff, and he pushed me, and I would not be in college, or I would not be doing this many things if it weren't for him. And so it goes back to that. You have to be able to know what they need and not teach what you think they need. In that moment, I didn't need Jeff to teach me about entrepreneurship. I needed him to teach me the path that I needed in order to, be successful.
And you've done a lot yourself. Let's not give him all the credit, okay? Right? Jeff's a great guy. I'm sure he helped along the way, but this isn't happening without you.
I did nothing. All I did was open the door. If you were here, all the accolades she had in her first year of college, which she better share. If she doesn't, I will.
Yeah, so tell us about your first year of college and what's happened in that season for you.
So I am in the Leeds School of Business studying finance and accounting. My first year, honestly, it was the best ever. College is something that I never saw myself doing, and now that I'm there, I don't see myself doing anything else but going there. I did get recognized at the Diverse Scholars Program as the community leader because of the ESL classes that I do teach at Front Range. I was also nominated by the Latino Chamber of Commerce as a woman empowerment, so student of the year. I got that award as well. And yeah, it's been a roller coaster. I have an internship with My first year, I landed an internship with Ernst Young, so one of the big four companies, accounting firms. So I do have that going for myself. Yeah.
It's exciting.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for being here.
Thank you
and
for having
sharing
me.
a bit of the story. Let me ask you a question, Jeffrey. We've talked a lot about college and that way of education, but I'm also a big believer that not every person needs to go to college. There are lots of opportunities for education and for empowerment and for opportunity. And I know your work focuses in that area, but what would you maybe say to someone who's thinking about opportunity in an avenue that isn't like college, right? And feels like, well, I live in maybe this culture that says that's the only way to be successful in life.
And first and foremost, I tell all my students, you don't have to go to college. I teach an entrepreneurship program, and a lot of my students will start businesses. A lot of their parents will come in and start businesses. People make everything too complex. Life is simple. Entrepreneurship is simple. You learn after you become an entrepreneur, right? And everybody thinks, well, you have to have a degree. You don't. All you have to do is think of these basic principles of, number one, you have a choice every day. And I wake up every day happy. I wake up because I'm going to go impact somebody's life and teach them simplicity. You don't need college. The second thing is that we have to understand, because my life has been faced with obstacles. Every obstacle is an opportunity. I hate public education. I do not like education. But instead of complaining, I go out and do something to change it. So that's what an entrepreneur does. And the third thing is, when I was speaking in Africa to the king of some group, I reminded them of an African proverb. And I want all of you to know this as well. When you pray, move your feet. A lot of times we think, oh, we can pray and it'll be fixed, and I'm waiting and waiting.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. You have to move your feet. And the fourth thing about an entrepreneurial mindset that we teach is knowledge. You don't have to have it. Half of your Fortune 500 companies, they didn't have the knowledge, they didn't have the resources, which is number 5. And number 6 is your brand. What is your credibility? It's not your logo. It's what are you doing each and every day? I get very frustrated in my religious life. I was going to be a pastor. That was my goal because I couldn't stand everybody fighting. Why is the Lutheran better than the Baptist and the Baptist better than the Presbyterian? And quite frankly, nobody's better than anybody else. But I decided not to.
Not a bad choice.
Yeah, I know. I figured I'm doing it this way, right? And then you have to work on community, and I think that's the big one.
Yeah.
Everybody, I want you to think of this. Don't judge yourself by your income or your career. Judge yourself by who you are. And the one thing that we're teaching in the Philippines, and if you'd have seen Jaylene skipping my class and not coming to class and stuff, one day I pulled her and I think all the Latino students, and I said, stop. Find your purpose. Once you find your purpose, life is amazing and the money will come. And I think that's the big thing. Stop judging yourself. Stop being hard on yourself. Love yourself, number 1. And number 2, think about what drives you each and every day. And then get a hold of us.
Yeah.
Get a hold of all of the students. Get a hold of the team. Come join us online when we're talking to Ghana. I'm opening the door for you to come and join us. We'll stay afterwards. You can talk to us. Can I answer one more thing?
Yeah.
I know we're saying college isn't everything, but if you'd like, you can take free college courses at no expense. They're accredited through planetstartup.org. You go to news, you'll see Saylor University. Take them. We're trying to get people around the world educated. Jerry's vision is to open the doors to everyone. And afterwards, I can show you how to navigate. Right now, most of our students are from Africa because they know that if they take those courses, they can come to the United States to come to college. One other thing really quick is I've interviewed people in Egypt, China, and all around the world, and there are so many beautiful people out there that are oppressed. And they're oppressed because they voted for The guy in Egypt, brilliant, couldn't get a job except the call center, even though he was trying to change the world to fight cancer because he voted for somebody and they imprisoned him. Education is open to everyone if you choose to seek it, and if I open the door for people like my buddy over here.
Love it. Okay, Jaylene, I'm going to give you the last question, all right? So I'm going to ask you the question, then I'll talk for a second to let you think, because you probably haven't heard this. But what would you say to us? Like, what's something simple that everyone could do in their everyday normal life to help promote education? All right, so while you think about that, I'm going to explain why I'm asking the question, because a lot of us get caught up, I've got to start a nonprofit, or I've got to volunteer every day of the week, or I've got to be a tutor, and those are all wonderful things, but what are the simple things, the choices, the way in which we see the world that you think would be helpful to your younger self, right? To that person who's trying to go, how do I navigate? What's next? I don't know. What would be something we could do in our everyday normal lives, do you think?
I would say spend the time to figure out who you are first. Like Jeffrey said, find your purpose. Find what drives you. Find what motivates you. Find what fulfills you. So for me, it was helping people. It was helping those parents learn a second language. It was helping them realize that there's opportunity for all. It was breaking barriers for them to access something that they never thought was possible.
So finding out what you're passionate about will lead to opportunities for you to give of yourself in those areas. That's what I'm hearing you say. I love it. That's brilliant. Can we give these folks a great big hand for being with us today? So we're gonna have communion together here in just a moment. If you're a guest today, please know that our communion is open communion. It's for everyone. We believe that this table has been set by God and that everyone is welcome. And these elements are a reminder that what nourishes us is a life of sacrifice. And Jesus is our model for that. And so we take this bread and this juice, and it's a reminder that the way in which we bring peace into this world is not through violence, it's not through anger, but it's through love, it's through sacrifice, it's through service, it's through caring for the poor, it's through caring for the oppressed, all of those things. And it's a reminder that this is our image of God. And so everyone is welcome to experience God in this moment. If you're at tables, you know that there's some juice and bread there. It's all gluten-free, alcohol-free, so everyone can participate if you'd like to. And then if you're sitting in the bleachers or in the seats, there's tables around here, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. You're welcome to explore and grab here in a moment. So we finish all of our time. We're going to have some music here to reflect and just consider this question. What is it that God's inviting you into today? And if you're here today and you don't know whether or not you believe in God, that's totally understandable. I have those days as well. But maybe you could ask yourself the question, what is love inviting me into today? I'm trying to become a better person in this world. What is my conscience inviting me into today? Like, think of it however you want to, but ask yourself the question, what could I take from my experience today and employ in my life and become a better person and make the world a better place, which I think is what in religious words we say, how we live a life that glorifies God is the religious way of saying that. I think the everyday normal language is, what can I do today to make the world better for somebody else? What can I do to make myself the best version of me? And so we have a couple of things you might think about. One, I would really encourage everybody to watch the TED Talk, The Magic Washing Machine. If you check the box, we'll send you a link to your email as long as we have your email address. And just check that out. It's really eye-opening and powerful, and it deals with it takes a very complex issue and makes it very understandable. And it was 12 years ago or so, I think, when he did that. But I want to encourage you, if you do have a passion for helping kiddos, you do have a passion for helping students in population areas and in schools that maybe need some resources, to volunteer with one of our partners in Hope, 2 in particular, the Lago Vista program and our Edmondson School Partnership team. Both are wonderful partners that we do different things with as a church, and you can, on the back of your Connect card, check that box and we'll get your information to those team leaders. Our Partners in Hope crew will help connect you to opportunities that you can figure out how to fit that into your schedule, right? And there's no right or wrong way to do that. And then I want to encourage you if you are in a profession and you would like to see that profession become more accessible to students, particularly students in underprivileged, underserved areas, under-resourced areas. I would encourage you to do some research on your own, be an adult, okay? I can't do all the research for you. That's why God gave us Google. You know, God invented ChatGPT, said, I'm going to manifest myself here for you. But just do some research and find a scholarship fund that educates people in an area that you're passionate about and donate to that scholarship fund. It's a simple way, that could cost you $10, $100, whatever it might be, 1,000, whatever you want to do. Just make a donation that says, okay, I'm going to help people who want to embark on a journey in an area that I'm passionate about. So that might be something. It may be something else. Maybe you heard something else today that kind of sparked your heart. This is the moment to just kind of consider those things, all right? So we take this moment to reflect and remember on the night in the beautiful story of Jesus, his life, his death, what we call the resurrection, that he was sitting with his friends and sharing a meal, and he took a piece of bread and he broke it and he said, this is my body that's broken for you, take and eat. And he took a cup and he blessed the cup and he said, this is my blood which is shed for you and for everyone, take and drink. And what that moment was Jesus kind of rewriting the narrative of how we interact with God. Was Jesus saying, there is no need for you to fall into the trap anymore of thinking that you need priests and sacrifices and animals and death to interact with the divine, because the divine is as present as this piece of bread and this cup. And that's the beauty of it, and that's what we honor here in the way in which we do it, is that you don't need me, you don't need to join this church, you don't need to join a church, you don't need to go to church, right? The divine is as present as bread and juice when we believe and when we come with faith that there is a reality that's deeper than we could ever understand, that is personal, that is not just full of love, but is love. And it's a love that heals and restores and opens our eyes. So, the body of Christ broken for you, the blood of Christ shed for you. I invite you to the table this morning. If you're in the bleachers or in the seats, would you stand with me? If you're at your tables, you can stand as well if you'd like. We're going to sing a couple of songs if you would like to during this moment, and then we'll have a blessing and get us out of here.
Oh, you've come to bring peace, to be love, to be nearer to us. You've come to bring life, to be light, to shine brighter in us. So you reign, God with us. Our deliverer, you are Savior. In your presence we find our strength. Over everything, our redemption, God with us. You are God with us. Oh, you've come to be home to this world for your honor name. And you come to take sin, to bear shame, and to conquer the grave. Oh, Emmanuel, God with us. Our deliverer, you are Savior. In your presence we find our strength. Over everything, our redemption, God with us. You are God with us. You are here, you are holy. We are standing in your glory. You are here, you are holy. We are standing in your glory.
said it would be easy. You never said there'd be no pain. But you promised you'd go with me, and your promises you always keep. Well, I confess how much I need you. And I confess that I am weak. Can't promise I won't fail you, but your promises will not fail me. When I'm in the valley, I will fear no evil. When enemies surround me, you prepare a table. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. There is beauty in the struggle. You don't waste a single day. Your presence is my shelter. Your presence is my victory. Oh yeah. When I'm in the valley, I will fear no evil. Enemies surround me, you prepare a table. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. When I'm in the valley, I will fear no evil. When enemies surround me, you prepare a table. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. I can't see it all, but I have seen enough to know. Oh, you are faithful. I can't see it all, but I have seen enough to know. Oh, you are faithful. I can't see it all, but I have seen enough to know. Oh, you are faithful. I can't see it all, but I have seen enough to know. Surround me, you prepare a table. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. When I'm in the valley, I will fear no evil. Enemies surround me, you prepare a table. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. Will follow me. Will follow me.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good metaphor to remind us that no matter where we go, we're swimming in divine love. It's a beautiful song. Go ahead and have a seat. We'll get you out of here in just a moment. In just a minute, I'm going to call our room host forward to receive those Connect cards and your donations this morning. If you're online, make sure you hit the submit button on both of those things. If you're tuning in online on demand, you can do that anytime. I want to thank you all for your generosity, particularly during the summer months that continue to move our church forward and create amazing ministries and work in our community. So thank you very much to those of you that this is a part of your spiritual life, a part of your generosity growth. We really do believe in the power of generosity. generosity here. So while you're finishing filling out those Connect cards, the giving envelopes, all that good stuff, I just want to remind you that the summer journey is continuing. Peacemaking 301, where we're exploring these topics in a little more detail. It's all in the app. And as Wendy said, if you have not downloaded the app, you are a loser. That's what I heard her say earlier. No, I'm just kidding. Download that app. Okay, just a real quick primer. The website, okay, is information that's primarily for people who are exploring Crossroads, what it's all about, all right? The program is for folks that kind of come in for the first time and they're trying to figure it out. The app is for those of you that are insiders, that you're here every week. If you want to know what's going on, what time you should be somewhere, how to sign up for a group, where you can volunteer, that's all in the app, okay? So make sure that you download that app and turn on push notifications so you can get all that good information, all right? Next week is our summer bash. I'm going to invite our room hosts forward now to receive those Connect cards, collect the baskets, all that good stuff. If you're in the bleachers, you can use the orange kiosks to drop your Connect card, your giving envelopes in. While they're doing that, check out some information about next week's summer bash party. Check it out.
Crossroads is hosting a huge summer bash. No, not that kind of bash. This bash will have water inflatables. Not like that. Think bigger. Yeah, that's more like it. We'll also have cheap eats to make this party for everyone. Ugh, not ramen. An actually grilled hot dog or hamburger with vegan options as well. There will be face painting. Well, maybe not that intense. There will be yard games. Again, not that intense. This will be an all-inclusive party for everyone. Well, we didn't have aliens in mind, but if they want to come down to Earth for this, the more the merrier. See you at Summer Bash at Crossroads, Sunday, July 21st from 11:30 to 2 p.m. Free admission for all, and it's going to be an absolute blast. For more information, go to crossroadscolorado.com/bash.
All right, next week, 11:30, we're going to have a big party here. Lots of interest in the community, so it's going to be great. If you haven't signed up to volunteer yet for that, it's not too late if you want to volunteer, but everybody can make it a success. Invite some friends, invite some neighbors to come out for this fun time to just enjoy the summer, all right? So that's next week. Hopefully you will be there. It's going to be a lot of fun, all right? And stick around for the after party. I like that. I hope that sticks. I like that better than meet and mingle. Meet and mingle feels like, I don't know. Meet and mingle feels very, after party feels very, yeah. You know, they did ask me if I had done a lot of cocaine because of the hole in my, I have a hole in my, an extra hole in my nose, I guess. I said it wasn't cocaine, and that's all I said. No, I didn't say that. Maybe. Okay, so, would you stand this morning? We're going to get you out of here with a blessing. If you're a guest, we finish all of our experiences. We head out into the after party every week with a blessing, all right? So if you'd like to raise your hands to receive the blessing, if that's uncomfortable for you, don't worry about it. Whatever's comfortable, whatever, just to receive this. May the Spirit of wisdom fill our hearts and guide our steps. And as we embrace the call to be everyday normal peacemakers, may we commit ourselves to the sacred task of bringing education to all people. And let us remember that literacy is not just a skill, but a key to freedom and opportunity and justice. And may we support and uplift those who face barriers to learning and work tirelessly to create a world where every child and adult can read and learn and grow. And in our quest to spread knowledge and light, may we find strength and inspiration in the stories of those who have overcome adversity. And so may our actions honor the courage of individuals like Malayla and countless others who fight for the right to education, for our teachers and our administrators and our staff and all of our schools. And may their resiliency remind us that with determination and support, we can transform lives and communities and even generations. And as we go forth, may we all be instruments of peace, advocating for equitable access to education and resources, and let our actions reflect the love and compassion of the divine, fostering environments where curiosity, grit, and character can flourish. And may we always remember, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Have an amazing week. Enjoy the after party. We'll see you for the bash.